This is just a quick video on the importance of shooting moving targets. I recently competed in what's called an action match, and it's basically IDPA, but it's done a little differently. The rules are not quite the same, and it's much more geared to self-defense shooting, not as much as like really keeping score or timing and so forth, because that's really just a game. But the thing I'm trying to say here is, I see a lot of shooters at the gun range, and they put their targets out at 50 feet, and they take forever to pull the trigger. I mean, I understand the sight picture, sight alignment, we all got that, but I don't know. It's great to be a target shooter if that's what your thing is, and I'm not knocking bullseye shooting or anything like that. It looks very relaxing and so forth, but I'm talking about if you're training for real life survival, you need to be able to shoot really quickly. And the only downside to that is there are some ranges that won't let you do that, but then my suggestion is try to find another range. But when I shoot quickly, and my shots are not always perfect, but they are pretty much center mass, and they would get the job done. I'm positive about that. And the whole thing is, a lot of people, they're just not really aware of a gunfight, and I see people, they're adjusting their sights, and they're not really aware of the realities of a gunfight. That most gunfights take place in less than 10 feet. And they're over in less than 3 seconds. And think about that. 3 seconds and bing, 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 it's all over with. Either you're shot or he's shot. And I see a lot of guys take more than 3 seconds to even fire off one round at a target. And I don't know. Again, people train for different things, but obviously, I'm a gun collector. I collect them. It's a hobby. It's a passion. But I also train for real-life self-defense situations, and I can't take 3 seconds or 5 seconds to make that shot. I need to be able to draw from the holster, possibly move to cover if it's available, and then take the shot. And a lot of times your shots in these attacks are going to be in the dark or low-light situations. And not to quote statistics, but your average policeman hits 1 out of 6 shots fired out of his gun. And not knocking policemen, I have a lot of law enforcement friends, and they'll tell me the same thing, that just because they're in law enforcement, they're not necessarily gun guys. It's a tool, their trade. Most of them never shot a gun, depending on what part of the country they're in, but never shot a gun at a person, I'm saying. And their only shooting is at the gun range. And again, they're qualifying, and it's done in a pretty static type of a form. So, you're shooting at a target that's hanging on a hook, and that's it. But I'd encourage anyone, if you could do IDPA, or even better, I feel action match shooting, that's something that is as close to real life as you can get. I did a shoot last night, actually, and we actually had targets set up with, they were moving toward us. So basically, you had to shoot with different calibers and so forth. You had to shoot at the targets that were being pulled towards you. So on the count of, when threat was, announced, you had to draw from your holster, and then you had to shoot that target as it was heading in towards you. And sometimes it was done quickly on the pulley, sometimes it was done slowly. Sometimes the target was on his side, sometimes it was vertical, sometimes horizontal. But the bottom line is, you have to assume like that guy either had a gun or had a knife, and you needed to shoot that target before it got to you. And I noticed a lot of people were not capable of doing that. And, they spent a lot of time talking about, the different modifications on their guns and the titanium parts and the this and the that. But reality, you need to draw, and you need to shoot, and you need to get targets on center. This target was like that, and that's where my grouping was going, which was pretty good. So that's the top. So that's that, and I covered up the bullseye because I blew that. But that's basically it. So, you know, practice. If you could find an action match, and even if you could only make it a couple of times a year, if you're not lucky enough to have a place that's close by you, practice shooting moving targets, because you're never going to have a bad guy be 20 feet away from you and take out a knife and say, hey, give me your money, you know, from 20 feet away. They're coming right up to you. They're running up to you. They're either going to hit you, they're going to stab you, they're going to beat you with some type of a blunt instrument or their fists, and that's it. So be ready for someone to come up, and practice your trigger control. That's something else that's extremely important in moving target shooting, because a lot of people, I notice they have their fingers on their trigger before that gun is on target. So you know what's going to happen there. You're going to shoot yourself in the leg or the foot. You don't want to do that. So you want to pull your gun, present your gun, and once it's in the direction and your threat is totally identified, that's when you pull the trigger. So this is just a quick video. Most of you guys watching this out there probably do this, and many of you are lucky enough to be able to shoot on your own property. And I'm sure you probably rigged up some type of thing that, you know, targets could swing back and forth. Or I've seen some people put a target on a little kid's wagon, and someone else pulls the wagon to them, and you know they're able to, you know, shoot the target while it's moving to them. But unfortunately, where I live, you know, this has to be done at a range. If I did this in my backyard, the SWAT team would be here in 2 seconds. So that won't work. But anyway, so just some quick tips, you know, mostly for the new guys out there. It's great to practice at the range. It breeds familiarity with your pistol. But you know, after 400 or 500 rounds of getting a gun, you should be familiar with your pistol, and at that point, you should be able to now move on to something a little more challenging. So, all right, thanks very much. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care.